Welcome back to Getting to Know You. This episode will be the fifth in a series, and it will be the fourth that focuses on the officers of the Residents Association Executive Committee, who were elected short enough time ago that we can still say congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. Tony Klockler is here with me today. He's the treasurer, and he's serving a second term as permitted under the bylaws, but I understand it's limited to 2 terms. So we'll cheer you on for this next session.
Okay.
You may know Tony because, as we will explain later, this particular job truly does involve all Stonebridge residents. But first we're going to talk about Tony's background and what he did before coming to Stonebridge. And we're going to look at this familiar map, because in asking you, where did you come from, you would answer,
Not far.
that's right.
We live close enough to here that we were able to walk here and observe Stonebridge being constructed. And we know the trails that surround this property and the Green Acres property. You can see them on this map, the paved path that surrounds the Stonebridge facility. And then there are unpaved trails through the woods and nearby meadows that are very nice for walking and getting outside and getting fresh air and exercise.
We're lucky, aren't we?
We certainly are.
Okay, we'll take another look at that map in a minute. Okay. Since you and your wife Beth walked the trails and lived here for, was it 50 years in Montgomery Township?
50.
50, yeah, okay. I would like to thank Bev, because she's the chair of the Welcome Committee, and she has a very good committee, and it's a lot of effort, but it's really appreciated when newcomers come here.
On her behalf, I thank you.
Yeah, okay. I couldn't resist saying that. As you are sitting here, you have this little piece of paper in front of you and mentioned that the paths aren't on here. But somebody could look at that booklet, couldn't they, and figure out what goes on in Montgomery Township more broadly, right?
This is a little booklet published by Montgomery Township Open Space Committee, and it has a page for each of the open spaces that have been preserved in Montgomery Township, which are extensive. Montgomery Township has preserved about 30% of the town's space as open space. And this is an example of the Stonebridge piece of it, which shows all the detailed trails that are around in the open space that surrounds Stonebridge as a facility.
So if you ever wanted to figure out how to get to that sign that's on Montgomery Road, you could find the path on that map that would get you there.
Yes, you can go off the what we call the western loop of paved and into the trails through the woods, and eventually you can follow the appropriate directions to get to Montgomery Road again.
And if you go in the direction where the old community garden was, you get to another whole set of trails that go out to Montgomery Road going into town.
Closer to Rocky Hill, that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
We think of that as the meadow that is behind the 1860 house.
Mhm. Right, so you can cut through that driveway.
Through their driveway and parking lot,
Right,
yes.
right. The other one that I think is interesting is where you can go to the shopping center and buy your lunch at Burger King and then take a big walk in Van Nest Meadows or something.
There's a big meadow there, it's mostly in Rocky Hill actually.
Uh-huh.
But Montgomery and Rocky Hill combined cooperated in creating that park.
Okay, well, I think we're gonna switch to your professional career and what you did as a volunteer before we get to make this really strong discussion of what the treasurer does. Tony, you had a professional career here, and then you had another volunteer career here in Montgomery Township before you came to Stonebridge. Would you like to say a little something about each of those?
Sure, I worked for Educational Testing Service, the home of the SAT and GRE, etc. For quite a number of years. I started there in 1964 and retired from that in 2001. During a lot of that time, I was also a volunteer in Montgomery Township on the zoning board. And I chaired the zoning board for a number of years. Since retirement, I wasn't sure what to do with myself, and my wife had been a volunteer EMT with Montgomery EMS. So I said, well, I'm no EMT, but I think I could learn to drive an ambulance. And
That's
I,
great.
for 15 years, was an ambulance driver. I drove the ambulance, and Bev took care of the patient in the back.
That's amazing. So you were making trips then in all directions, to Princeton, to up to Hunterdon to the hospital,
Yes,
and to
to
New Brunswick?
New Brunswick, Somerville,
Mhm.
and unfortunately, all too frequently to Stonebridge.
I guess that's, I don't know, like, we're probably their best customer, if they want to look at it
Yeah,
that way.
unfortunately.
So. And at ETS, you were there through the whole technology revolution when they got the scoring machine going and so on. It must have been exciting. at that
Yes,
time.
it was. It was an exciting time. There were a lot of changes all the time. In fact, I was hired for one of the changes.
Mhm.
It was for the transfer of our computer systems from what was an RCA 501 to IBM mainframe computers. And of course, from then, we transferred from computer to computer and generation to generation
Mhm.
for many years.
Well, now let's turn to the role of treasurer. I've heard from other people we've interviewed that the budget isn't very large, but you do have a big responsibility in thinking about something that we care about a lot. And I call it the appreciation fund. Is that the right word for it?
The Employee Appreciation Fund,
Okay.
yes.
And you're in charge of that. So
Yes,
can you talk about that? Yeah.
I have three responsibilities as treasurer. One, of course, is to handle the bank account, pay bills and write checks. You're right, the amount, the main source of funds for the resident association account is the store, but also we get some income from the plant sale of the greenhouse committee, and sometimes from work that Charlie Taggart does in the wood shop, and people make a contribution. The second responsibility is to chair the Financial Advisory Committee, where we meet with Spring Point staff and Stonebridge staff and review the finances of the organization. And lastly, and in many ways I think most important, I run the Employee Appreciation Fund. Every fall, we solicit donations to that fund, and those monies are collected and then distributed to the staff early in December as an appreciation for their work all year long, and it comes in handy with the holidays right around the corner.
And you know, you do a real service to all of us who appreciate the staff, because we really don't have another mechanism to show that in a material way and to be reminded how important that is. So it's a real service to us too, because we appreciate what this community is all about. Even though you have to remind us all the time to give to it.
We do have to remind you, but it's a lot of work, but I love it, and the best part of it is when we get, as an executive committee, to hand out the checks to the staff in early December and to receive their gratitude for that fund.
I've noticed that a lot of people manage to mill around, residents mill around, because it's such a wonderful scene when you're giving out the checks. It's very heartwarming.
Residents are certain welcome. This is not a closed
Yeah.
event at all.
Right. Well, thank you for telling us about what you do and getting us outdoors maybe a little bit more. A lot of things we covered in this session, and good luck with your big job as treasurer that's coming up. We should be warned, right? We'll be hearing from you.
Yes, you will be hearing from me. Thank you very much.
And so thank you for being with us. The team here, Jeff, Sandy, Robin on the camera, and me, Ingrid, the host. Hope you'll be watching for more and more episodes of Getting to Know You. But for today, we want to thank Tony Glockler for being with us and for what he does for us. Thank you.